Last week, I posted a video featuring the Tier 7 Japanese battleship Amagi, in which I got a Kraken after pushing onto a flank of a certain map and taking advantage of the fact that a triple battleship division all pushed into the center of the map. This game, in the USS Georgia Tier 7 Premium American battleship, and one of my favorite ships in the entire game, this match is going to be sort of the mirror image of that Amagi match. We will indeed be getting a Kraken here, which is primarily the reason I'm showing you this video. I think I probably have too much content on the Georgia on this channel, but you know, you get a Kraken, you've got to put it on YouTube. And this is going to be the mirror image of how we did it in the Amagi, because this time we are going to push our battleship into the center of the map. I know I said you shouldn't do that in the video with the Amagi, but the context there was different. That was a triple Flandre division that all pushed themselves into the center of the map and therefore could not spread out and create crossfires. I'm only one player. I'm not in a division, as you can see, and my battleship teammates are spreading out to the flanks. When that occurs, if you're able to play the center of the map, that theoretically means you'll have access to broadsides. As the enemy battleships on the flanks push in against our battleships on the flanks, if we're in the center, those guys are going to be facing each other, and the enemy battleships are theoretically going to be pointing their broadsides at us, just like this Flandre out here, who we're going to hit with our first salvo and do 20,000 damage. Not a bad result, although I'll tell you that is probably the best salvo I get in this match. It's not going to be a super high damage one. In any case, we've got some problems to be concerned about. The Bravo cap is turning red, and we don't see anything inside of it, which leads me to believe that one of the two enemy destroyers is in there. But on our side, we've got a friendly destroyer pushing into the cap, and I think there is maybe a cruiser parked up right behind him near this island. Yep, there's a cruiser there. So, with that guy pushing in, maybe if we go for it, we'll be all right. Doesn't seem like there's really anything else in the center of the map aside from this enemy DD. So, we're confident, with the help of our DD and cruiser, that we'll be able to take this guy out if we push in. Also note that I am not spotted by anyone. That's partially because I build for concealment on pretty much all my battleships. I've got Kondo as one inspiration, and we have a 12.5 kilometer detectability by sea. Concealment is good if you need to disengage in a battleship, as we are going to do in this game. There will be some kiting, don't worry. But it's also good because if you're not spotted from as far away, you can push further into the action without getting noticed and focused. Then you can open fire, and you can, attract return fire and tank damage and all that. That's one of the other benefits of building into the concealment. It's not just about retreating, it's also about pushing in further and doing it more effectively. The enemy destroyer was briefly spotted. It was the Fletcher. He goes dark, so we're going to take a shot at Scharnhorst out here, who probably is going to sink before our shells even reach him. Yep, there he goes. Bit of a wasted shot. We could maybe follow up on the cruiser out there, but that cruiser is the last red ship left alive on that flank, and he's got to deal with one friendly cruiser, one battleship, and a destroyer on top of all that. So, since we have nothing better to do and the Fletcher is still unspotted, maybe we will take a shot at him, but I think it's the Fletcher that's going to be our primary concern. Looks like he might complete a full broadside turn, but he goes dark, so the shot is out half blind. We'll see if it connects. Fletcher torpedoes coming in. That's all right. They're not particularly fast. There's a nice gap here. We can dodge them fairly easily, but we need to get this guy off the map. Looks like our salvo against Indracht completely missed. He did not complete his turn, apparently. Another enemy DD spotted inside of the Alpha Cap. Another shot out at Indracht, and Fletcher is once again revealed. He's got our friendly DD chasing him around the corner. This time our shot on Indracht connects, and we get our first kill of the game. 36,000 damage. Fletcher is being driven out from his hiding spot. If he comes around that island, we'll be able to shoot him, but our destroyer has unfortunately taken himself behind that island to a place where nobody can really assist him. Fletcher is not available to be shot, and the friendly destroyer goes down, leaving the Bravo Cap without any blue DD presence. Both teams have lost 2 ships at this point, and we've got almost nothing going with our attempt to push into the center early on in this game. But don't worry, sometimes patience can really be a virtue in World of Warships Legends. And, you know, if your initial push into the center of the map in your battleship doesn't work out, you can always try it again. The Fletcher is smoked up. Hopefully he's still inside of that smoke, but maybe not, considering we're spotted. Or actually, that'll be courtesy of the enemy DD over there, the Akatsuki, who just went behind that island and were dark. So, Fletcher is either inside that smoke or behind the island. We're good to push in. If he can't see us, he won't necessarily know where to torp, and that will be something that keeps us safe. We really want to get him out of here because we've got Massachusetts pushing in, and the other 2 enemy battleships are over there. They're about to come around that island, pushing into our flank from their spawn, and so they are going to be giving broadside to our position, which we can take advantage of if we can eliminate this Fletcher, who thankfully decides to torpedo something aside from me. I wish my secondaries had a little bit more range. He could be dead right now, but we mostly sink him. He's got a little bit of HP left, but he'll be on his way back to port. And he's most importantly out of the cap and not an immediate torpedo threat. So we finally get what we want, which is a position where we can get the broadsides of the pushing enemy battleships, starting with B.A. Tirpitz, who does have that turtle back that's going to prevent us from citadeling him, but, you know, decent salvo with the Georgia's guns. These guns, by the way, in my opinion, are some of the best battleship guns in the entire game. The American 457s, they may not have the 32mm overmatch like the Yamato and Musashi 460s, but they overmatch 30mm of plating, and they have the highest AP alpha in the entire game, even higher than Yamato's. So for that reason, I think they're great. Plus, sometimes they're pinpoint accurate. Not all the time on Georgia. You do get trolley dispersion, but when they hit, the results are glorious. We're going to have to take ourselves behind this island, though, because we are suffering under the withering hail of Flandre and B.A. Tirpitz secondaries. Not something we can sustain forever. Boise out there, is he broadside? That is a bit risky for being broadside to the USS Georgia. Let's see how that works out. Yeah, not well. There's our second kill of the game. And we've got Massachusetts on our broadside, and then Flandre and Tirpitz directly behind us. So you know what that means. 3 battleships focusing us from different angles. Well, we can't push into that. We're going to have to kite away, ironically, into the enemy's spawn if we're going to want to win here. Massachusetts is giving perhaps an unhealthy amount of broadside. Yep, there's a 10k salvo. Could have been better, but could have been worse if he was more angled. What's really bad here is the Fletcher is still alive, and so his torpedoes are slowly creeping up on us. Looks like one is going to hit right up the prop shaft, which is honestly not what you want. And there we go. Rudder is taken out, or steering gears rather. Flood, double fire. 4 seconds away from damage control. We are in a bit of trouble here, but we're going to be able to extinguish all that with the use of the damage control. And we're gaining distance between us and the enemy ships all the time. Now it's really only Massachusetts that can shoot at us. Maybe. I think we're taking some shots from the Fletcher there, who's hiding behind the island with his green shell tracers. Take a shot at him with the rear turret of justice to sort of get him away. Well, actually, that just sends him back to port. There's our 3rd kill of the game. And Tirpitz comes around the corner with no HP left and promptly goes down before our salvo even reaches. However, we've got the friendly cruiser, Miyoko, beaching himself in front of the Massachusetts to get the torpedoes launched. Will those torpedoes yield any results? Doesn't look likely. We, however, have reached the safety of this island where we can go dark, deploy a heal in about 3 seconds, and then push back in, I think. I think that's the move to make here once we get this heal going. Yes, especially since Massachusetts is going to turn and give us broadside. That's one of the keys to kiting, by the way. Something that the students of the Xarkun School of Kiting have a difficult time comprehending. You kite when the situation calls for it, so that you can keep yourself alive and keep yourself effective in the game, and then you push back in when the situation calls for it, which is right now. There goes Massachusetts for our 4th kill of the game. We're only up to 112,000 damage, not exactly impressive, but we do have 2 ships left alive on the enemy team, so that we can secure a Kraken. And our push into the center was perhaps disruptive enough to turn the tide in this game. I don't think that's all down to me. I think I had some help from our teammates here. But if we didn't go into the center like that, things might have turned out differently. Flandre is just a gift to us on a silver platter. There's the Kraken Unleashed with a lovely Pitadel to boot. Thank you, game. And Azerlane Shapayev, a very toxic ship, is the only red ship left floating. Maybe we can turn this into a 6-pack, given that he's spotted by our friendly battleship. But I would suspect, given that he's broadside, or near enough to the friendly battleship, that it's not our shells that are going to send him back to port and end this game. Nope, there he goes. Only a Kraken, no 6-pack, and a Kraken achieved by doing something perhaps a little bit unorthodox, pushing your battleship into the center of the map in order to get crossfires or broadside shots on the flank. Didn't really develop until late in the game, but it did develop, and it was enough to secure us the Kraken. So, the lesson to be drawn here is that there are no hard, fast, absolute rules in World of Warships Legends. There are objective facts that determine what you should or shouldn't do in any given situation, but the context is always different, and keeping track of that context with good game sense and map awareness, that's what you need to do in order to get better at playing the game. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.